The fairy lights twinkled above us, casting a soft golden glow over the reception hall. The music swirled, laughter rose, and glasses clinked as family and friends gathered to celebrate what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I sat at the head table beside Mark, my new husband, my fingers laced tightly with his. The long months of planning, the endless details, the stress and excitement, all of it had led to this moment, our wedding day. But beneath my joy, a knot of unease sat heavy in my stomach, and that knot had a name, Lily. My younger sister had always found a way to turn the spotlight onto herself. Birthdays, graduations, even holidays. If there was attention to be had, Lily would claim it. Still, I told myself this time would be different. This was my wedding, a day no one could take from me. I was wrong. It started innocently enough. Guests mingled, speeches were given, toasts were made. My father, Robert, raised his glass with tears in his eyes, speaking about the pride he felt watching his eldest daughter find love. My mother, Margaret, dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, smiling warmly as she reminisced about childhood memories. Then Lily stood up. Her wine glass sparkled in the light as she clinked it gently with a fork. The room hushed, every face turning toward her. I expected a heartfelt toast, maybe a funny story. Instead, her smile curved in a way that made my heart sink. "I just want to say something," Lily began, her voice sweet but laced with something sharp. She glanced at me, then at Mark, and for a moment her expression hardened. "You all may be celebrating Anna today, but if things had gone differently, I should have been the bride." The words crashed into the room like shattered glass. A collective gasp rippled through the guests. My mother's napkin slipped from her hand. My father's mouth fell open. Mark stiffened beside me, his fingers tightening around mine. I felt the blood drain from my face. My heart hammered, my ears rang. Had she really just said that? In front of everyone? Lily's eyes glimmered with defiance as she raised her glass higher. "So here's to Anna and Mark. May their marriage be as strong as the one I could have had." Laughter bubbled nervously around the room. Confused and uncomfortable. My chest constricted, heat rising to my face as whispers began. Mark leaned close, his voice a low whisper. "Anna, don't let her ruin this. She's trying to." But it was too late. The damage had already been done. On the night meant to celebrate my love, my sister had turned the spotlight back onto herself and cast a shadow over everything. The room remained frozen for a moment after Lily's words, as if time itself had stalled. Then slowly, the hum of chatter returned, low and uneasy. Some guests glanced at me with sympathy. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure how to react. I forced a smile, though my cheeks burned. This was my wedding, reception, and I refused to let her steal it from me, but inside, my heart twisted painfully. Margaret stood abruptly, her voice sharp. "Lily, that was completely inappropriate." But Lily only smirked, sipping her wine as if she'd delivered nothing more than a clever joke. "Oh, relax, Mom. I was just teasing. Everyone knows Anna always gets everything first." The words cut deeper than she realized. Or maybe exactly as deep as she intended. For years she had painted me as the one who got all the praise, all the milestones, while she was left to live in my shadow. But this, announcing it in front of hundreds of guests, on the night of my wedding, it was cruel. Robert's voice rumbled with barely restrained anger. "Enough, Lily." "Sit down," she did, her smile never fading. My stomach churned as the music resumed, the atmosphere strained. Mark leaned closer, brushing his thumb over my hand. "Don't let her win, Anna." "Tonight is about us," I nodded, but my eyes kept drifting to Lily. She chatted animatedly with the guests at her table, as if she hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my wedding. When it was time for the first dance, Mark and I took to the floor. As the music swelled and he spun me gracefully, the tension eased slightly. For a few minutes, I let myself forget, focusing only on his steady eyes and the rhythm that carried us. But when the song ended and applause erupted, my gaze caught Lily's. She clapped politely, her expression unreadable, but her eyes held a challenge, as though daring me to confront her. Later, while cutting the cake, she sidled up to me. Her perfume hit me before her words did, sickly sweet. "Don't look so shocked, Anna," she murmured, her tone laced with venom beneath the sugary smile. "You've always known I could have had Mark if I wanted." My knife froze mid-slice. I turned, meeting her gaze squarely. "That's a lie, Lily, and you know it." Her smirk deepened. "Believe what you want. But tonight, everyone heard me. They'll never forget it." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to focus on Mark's hand steadying mine. Guests cheered as we served the first slice, blissfully unaware of the storm raging quietly between sisters. As the night wore on, I realized one thing with painful clarity. Lily hadn't just made a scene. She had declared war. And this time, I wasn't sure if I could forgive her. The reception carried on, but the mood had shifted. Every laugh seemed a little forced, every toast delivered with hesitation, as if no one wanted to risk another eruption. I tried to lose myself in the celebration, but Lily's words echoed in my head like a bell I couldn't unring. During dinner, Margaret leaned over to me, her voice hushed. "Don't let her ruin this, Anna. People will forget, but I knew better. Guests might forget the music or the food, but they wouldn't forget my sister standing up and declaring she should have been the hot bride." That kind of humiliation lingers. Mark tried to distract me with small talk and kisses on the cheek, his steady presence keeping me grounded. But when I glanced across the room, Lily's laughter rang louder than anyone else's. It was as though she had taken center stage, and I was the supporting act at my own wedding. After dinner, as guests drifted toward the dance floor, Robert pulled Lily aside. His face was stern, his words clipped, though I couldn't hear them over the music. She rolled her eyes, waving him off, then slipped away before he could press further. Mark noticed my gaze lingering. "She thrives on this, Anna. The more you react, the more power she gets." I wanted to believe him, but a storm brewed in me. Anger, hurt, betrayal. How could my own sister look me in the eye and try to take what was mine, even in words? Later in the evening, I stepped outside for air. The cool night wrapped around me, a sharp contrast to the heat of the reception hall. Fairy lights twinkled in the garden, and for a moment, I let the silence soothe me. Then the door creaked open. Lily stepped out, her heels clicking against the stone path. She approached slowly, her expression unreadable. "Enjoying your big night?" she asked lightly, though her tone carried an edge. I turned to face her. "Why did you say that, Lily? Why here? Why now?" She shrugged, her eyes glinting. "Because it's true. You think Mark picked you because you're perfect? Please. If I'd wanted him, I could have had him." The audacity of her words stole my breath. "That's a fantasy you've created," I snapped. "Mark loves me. He chose me, not you." Her smile was thin, almost pitying. "We'll see how long that lasts." For a moment, the air between us crackled with tension. The years of sibling rivalry distilled into one bitter standoff. Then she turned and walked back inside, leaving me trembling in the cold. When I returned to the reception, Mark searched my face, concern etched into his features. "What did she say?" I shook my head, forcing a smile I didn't feel. Nothing worth repeating, but deep down I knew it was worth far too much. Because Lily wasn't just trying to ruin my wedding, she was trying to undermine my marriage before it had even begun. The reception hall glowed with golden light, yet I felt as though a storm cloud followed me everywhere. I tried to laugh, to dance, to celebrate with my friends, but Lily's words clung to me like a thorn I couldn't pull free. When the DJ called for the bouquet toss, I gathered the single women onto the dance floor. Laughter bubbled as they jostled playfully for position. But my eyes found Lily at the edge of the crowd, arms folded, her gaze fixed on me with an intensity that chilled my spine. I turned away quickly, forcing my smile brighter as I tossed the bouquet. Cheers erupted as a friend caught it, but the moment felt hollow. Later, while Mark was pulled into a circle of his college friends, I slipped into the hallway for a breather. The echo of music faded, replaced by the muffled hum of distant conversation. That's when I heard her voice, Lily speaking to two cousins, her words sharp and deliberate. Mark only married Anna because she trapped him. She always gets what she wants, no matter who she hurts. The cousins glanced at each other awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable, but Lily pressed on. If you ask me, I'd have made the better bride. I'd have kept him interested, my stomach twisted. I stepped forward, unable to stay hidden. Enough, Lily. Her head snapped toward me, but instead of shame, her eyes glittered with triumph. Oh, Anna. Didn't know you were listening, the cousins stammered excuses and slipped away, leaving us alone. I crossed my arms, forcing steel into my voice. You've made your point, you're jealous, congratulations. But stop poisoning my wedding with your lies. She smirked, tilting her head. Lies? Or truths you're too scared to face? Anger flared, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me unravel. Mark chose me, Lily, not you, and no matter how many whispers you spread, that won't change. Her smile faltered, just for a flicker, before she turned on her heel and stalked back into the reception. When I returned moments later, Margaret intercepted me, her expression tight. Anna, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into her tonight, tears threatened, but I held them back. She's always been like this, Mom. Tonight is just the worst version of it. Margaret squeezed my hand. You don't deserve this. Don't let her break you. As the night stretched on, I clung to Mark, to the laughter of friends, to every piece of joy I could salvage. But beneath it all was the growing realization that Lily's toast hadn't been a passing jab. It had been a declaration, a promise that she wouldn't stop until she'd stolen more than just the spotlight. By the time dessert was served, I felt drained. My smile stretched thin from holding it too long. Guests laughed and clinked glasses, oblivious to the battle unfolding quietly between sisters. I wished I could be like them, carefree, lost in the joy of the evening. But Lily's shadow loomed over every moment. Mark leaned closer, his hand warm on my knee beneath the table. I can see it in your eyes, Anna. She's getting to you. Don't give her the satisfaction, I nodded. But my chest tightened anyway. My wedding day was supposed to be the start of a new chapter. Yet here I was, stuck in the same old rivalry that had defined my life with Lily. When the music shifted to a slower tune, Mark pulled me onto the dance floor. As we swayed together, he whispered, "Look at me, not her." I lifted my eyes to his, and for a moment, the world melted away. His love was steady, unshakable. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught Lily watching us from the edge of the room. Her gaze was sharp, calculating, as if she were measuring what it would take to break us. Halfway through the song, Robert approached, his expression grim. "Anna, may I have a word?" Mark squeezed my hand reassuringly as I followed my father into a quiet corner. Robert hesitated before speaking, his voice low. I confronted Lily again. She won't listen. She insists she was only joking, but it's more than that. I think she truly believes she's been wronged. I swallowed hard. She's rewriting history. She's convinced herself she should have had what I have. Robert's shoulders sagged. I failed you both. I let her jealousy fester instead of addressing it when you were kids. And now, it's spilling over on the most important day of your life. His honesty cut deep, but it also offered comfort. For once, someone saw it clearly. "Dad," I whispered, "please don't blame yourself. Lily made her choices." Before Robert could reply, Margaret appeared, her face pale. "Anna, Lily's at it again." My stomach dropped. I hurried back into the reception hall, where a small crowd had gathered near the bar. Lily stood at the center, her cheeks flushed from wine, her voice rising above the music. "Everyone thinks Anna's perfect, but she's not," she declared. "She doesn't deserve Mark. She's always been selfish, always taking what should have been mine." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My friends exchanged uneasy glances, and whispers spread like wildfire. I froze in place, humiliation burning through me. This wasn't just a toast, a careless comment. This was an attack, public and intentional. Mark stepped forward, his voice sharp with authority. "That's enough, Lily." But even as he spoke, I knew the night had shifted. My wedding reception was no longer just a celebration. It had become a battlefield. The music faltered as Lily's words cut through the air like shards of glass. I stood rooted to the spot, every eye in the room turning toward me, waiting for a reaction. My cheeks burned, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. Margaret rushed forward, her voice trembling. "Lily, stop this madness right now." But Lily only laughed bitterly, lifting her glass again. "Why should I stop? It's the truth. I should have been the one in that dress, standing at that altar." Gasps rippled again, followed by a heavy silence. Robert's voice finally thundered across the room. "Enough, Lily, you're humiliating yourself." But the damage was already done. Guests whispered behind their hands, eyes darting between me and Lily as though trying to piece together some hidden scandal. My wedding reception, the night I had dreamed of for years, was unraveling in real time. Mark stepped forward, his arm sliding protectively around my waist. His voice was firm, cutting through the noise. "Lily, whatever game you're playing, ends here. I married Anna because I love her. I never loved you, and I never will. Everyone here knows it." The bluntness of his words struck Lily like a slap. Her smirk faltered, her eyes flashing with something raw. Hurt, maybe, or fury. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Robert seized the moment, taking her glass from her hand. "You've had too much to drink. Sit down before you ruin what little dignity you have left." The crowd slowly dispersed, the tension lingering, but the immediate spectacle over. Mark guided me back to our table, his hand steady on mine. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I nodded shakily, though tears burned at the corners of my eyes. I can't believe she did this. On my wedding day, Margaret leaned close, her own face streaked with shame. I don't know what's gotten into her. She's been jealous before, but this is cruelty. As the evening limped forward, I forced myself to smile for photos, to thank guests, to cling to every shred of joy I could salvage. But inside, my heart was heavy. Every time I caught sight of Lily sulking in the corner, the wound deepened. When the last song played and Mark and I prepared to leave, Lily made one final move. As we walked toward the exit, she stepped directly into our path. Her voice was low, venomous, meant only for me. "Enjoy your happy ending, Anna. But don't forget, fairy tales don't last forever." Her eyes bored into mine, dark with resentment. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just a drunken outburst or a jealous slip. It was a vow. Lily wasn't going to fade quietly into the background of my marriage. She was going to keep fighting for a role that was never hers. The car ride away from the reception should have been magical. Mark and I, newly married, driving off into the night with cheers fading behind us. But instead of basking in the glow of love and laughter, I sat stiffly in my seat, Lily's words replaying in my head. Mark reached across the console, lacing his fingers with mine. "Anna, don't give her power." Tonight was about us. It still is. I forced a nod, but the sting lingered. "She said she should have been the bride, Mark." "In front of everyone. Do you know how humiliating that is?" His jaw tightened. "Yes, and everyone also saw how unhinged she sounded. No one believes her. They saw the truth. Us." His certainty steadied me, but only slightly. Deep down, I knew Lily wasn't done. The next morning, as Mark and I sat in the hotel suite eating breakfast in bed, my phone buzzed with messages. At first, I thought they'd be congratulatory texts from friends and family, but the first one I opened froze me in place, from a cousin. "Sorry about what Lily said last night. Hope you're okay." Another. "Don't let her get to you, Anna. Everyone knows she was drunk." And another. "Honestly, Lily embarrassed herself more than you. Don't take it to heart. Each message carried sympathy, but each one was also a reminder. Lily's outburst wasn't going to fade into the background. People would talk. My wedding would be remembered not for the vows or the dance floor, but for the scandal my sister created. Tears pricked my eyes. Mark pulled the phone gently from my hands, setting it aside. Anna, listen to me. Our marriage isn't defined by your sister's bitterness. It's defined by us. By the love we chose yesterday. I leaned into his chest, his words soaking into me like a balm. But as much as I wanted to believe him, I couldn't shake the dread curling in my stomach. Later that day, Margaret called. Her voice was weary. Anna, I need to apologize for Lily. I don't know why she did it. I tried to stop her. She humiliated me, Mom, I whispered, my throat tight. In front of everyone. I know, Margaret said softly. Your father and I are going to talk to her. But Anna. She hesitated, then added, please don't let this destroy your relationship with her completely. She's still your sister. I closed my eyes, torn between love and fury. She crossed a line I don't think I can forgive. When I hung up, Mark kissed the top of my head. You don't have to forgive her right now. You just have to decide what matters most, protecting your peace or letting her drag you into chaos again. For the first time, I realized the choice was mine, and maybe it had been all along. When Mark and I returned from our brief honeymoon, the weight of reality settled back in quickly. Waiting for me at our apartment was a package. No return address. Just my name scrawled across the front in Lily's unmistakable handwriting. My stomach sank as I tore it open. Inside was a photo album. At first, I thought it was a sweet gesture, until I flipped it open. Every page was filled with old family photos. Lily had circled herself in red marker, writing bitter captions in the margins. The prettier sister. The one left behind. The real bride. By the last page, my hands trembled. Scrawled across the photo of me and Mark at the altar were the words, "This should have been me." I dropped the album as though it had burned me. Mark picked it up, his face tightening with fury. This is sick, Anna. She's not just jealous, she's obsessed. Tears welled in my eyes. She's my sister. How did it come to this? Mark set the album down firmly. Because she never learned to let go. And now she's trying to drag you down with her. The next day, Margaret called again, her voice heavy. Anna, Lily is upset you haven't spoken to her. She says you've shut her out. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Mom, she sent me an album defaced with threats. She isn't just upset, she's unstable. There was silence on the line before Margaret whispered, I don't know what to do with her anymore. Robert's voice came on next, firmer, resolute. Anna, don't engage. Let her burn out on her own. Protect yourself first. That night, lying in bed beside Mark, I couldn't sleep. The album sat in a drawer across the room, but it felt like it pulsed with Lily's resentment, like a curse. Mark, I whispered, what if she never stops? What if she keeps trying to ruin us? He turned toward me, brushing hair from my face. Then we don't let her win. We stay united. She can throw every stone she wants, but as long as we're together, she can't break us. His words calmed me, but the unease lingered. I knew Lily too well. She didn't quit. The following weekend, we gathered at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. The air was tense, every glance heavy with unspoken words. Lily was there, quieter than usual, but her silence felt like the stillness before a storm. When the plates were cleared, she finally spoke, her tone calm but edged. I don't regret what I said at the wedding. One day, you'll see I was right, Margaret gasped. Robert slammed his hand on the table, and Mark immediately tensed beside me, but I just stared at her, something inside me finally breaking free. You're wrong, Lily, I said, my voice steady. And the only person who can't see it is you. The table went silent after my words, the weight of years of rivalry pressing down on all of us. Lily's fork clinked against her plate as she set it down, her eyes narrowing. You think you've won, Anna, but you haven't. You've just taken what should have been mine." Robert's voice was like thunder. "Lily, enough! You've embarrassed this family once already. Don't do it again," but she ignored him. Her focus locked on me. "Do you even realize how easy your life has been? Every teacher adored you. Every boyfriend compared me to you. And now Mark. I was always second place." Her words stung, not because they were true, but because they revealed how deep her wounds really went. I swallowed hard. "Lily, my life hasn't been easy. I worked hard for everything I have. You chose to see it as competition, but it never was." Mark's hand slid into mine, his voice calm but firm. "And for the record, Lily, I never wanted anyone but Anna. You can rewrite the story however you like, but it won't change the truth." For the first time, I saw something flicker in Lily's expression. Hurt, raw, and unguarded. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a cold smirk. "We'll see how long that lasts." Margaret pressed a hand to her mouth, tears brimming in her eyes. "Why are you doing this, Lily? Why can't you just be happy for your sister?" "Because no one was ever happy for me," she snapped, slamming her palm on the table. "Every victory I had was overshadowed by Anna. Every time I tried, I was reminded that I wasn't her." The room fell into a heavy silence. Robert pushed back his chair, his voice weary. "We can't keep living like this. Lily, you need help, real help. This obsession with Anna is poisoning you." But Lily only scoffed, rising from her seat. "Don't bother, Dad. I don't need your lectures, and I don't need your pity. One day, you'll all see I was right." She grabbed her coat and stormed out, the front door slamming shut behind her. The sound echoed through the house like a final declaration. Margaret broke into quiet sobs, and Robert pulled her close, his jaw tight with anger and grief. Mark rubbed soothing circles on my back, whispering, "You did nothing wrong, Anna. None of this is your fault." But as I sat there, heart pounding, I couldn't shake the truth I had finally accepted. Lily wasn't going to stop. She had built her entire identity on being my rival, and she would rather destroy herself and me than let that go. And yet a strange calm settled over me, because for the first time, I understood that her war didn't have to be mine. After Lily stormed out, the house felt unbearably quiet, like everyone was afraid to speak too loudly in case her bitterness still lingered in the air. Margaret dabbed her eyes, whispering apologies to me as if her guilt could rewrite the night. Robert sat stiffly beside her, his shoulders heavy, a man worn down by years of battles between his daughters. But I wasn't thinking about apologies or explanations anymore. I was thinking about freedom. For so long, I had bent myself into knots trying to make peace with Lily, trying to include her, reassure her, prove to her that I wasn't her enemy. Yet no matter what I gave, she wanted more. And now she had tried to hijack the most important day of my life. Mark drove us home that night, his hand steady on the wheel, the quiet hum of the car soothing my ragged nerves. "You know," he said softly, "sometimes family isn't about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who choose to stand with you." No matter what I turned to look at him, the man who had chosen me in every way that mattered. "You're right. And I think I need to stop letting Lily define me." He smiled gently, squeezing my hand. "That's the Anna I married." The weeks that followed weren't easy. Whispers about Lily's toast spread through the family, and I could feel the sting of eyes lingering a little too long when Mark and I showed up at gatherings. But slowly, the noise faded. People moved on, and for once, I stopped chasing Lily's approval. One evening, I found myself alone, flipping through our wedding album. Page after page of joy, of love, of laughter. There was Lily, too, in the background, her smile sharp, her eyes restless. But instead of bitterness, I felt something else, pity. Because while I had stepped forward into a new life with Mark, she was still stuck in the shadow she had built for herself. Months later, I received a letter from her. No dramatic declarations, no Insults, just a few lines scrawled in her handwriting. I don't know why I can't stop comparing myself to you. I'm sorry, but I don't think I can change. I stared at the page for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to extend one last olive branch, but another part of me knew it was time to let go. So I tucked the letter into a drawer, whispered a quiet prayer for her, and chose silence. Not out of anger, but out of love, for myself, for Mark, for the life we were building together. Because in the end, my wedding day wasn't ruined. It was tested. And through that test, I realized something profound. I didn't need my sister's approval to belong. I already belonged, to love, to hope, to the family Mark and I were creating together. And no toast, no jealous words, no storm could take that from me.